All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning for our September Bloom Business Series webinar. My name is Hannah Beard, and I'm the Marketing and Merchant Engagement Manager for Downtown Inc. And today we'll hear from some local business owners about best practices in digital marketing. So today's event is made possible by our presenting sponsor, PNC. So once again, thank you to PNC for your ongoing support of our 2022 Business Series workshop. With us today, we have 3 local business owners who manage social media accounts and promotions for their respective businesses and organizations. Digital marketing is vital to businesses' success in order to promote products, services, and overall brands online. And we know that most customers will visit a business online before stepping foot in the store. So our guests today are going to share their most effective digital marketing strategies in hopes that you'll take away some ideas to implement into your own marketing plan. So our first panelist is Leah Barnes. Leah is a very busy lady. So in addition to serving as the events chair for York Young Professionals, and she also owns Your Perfect Day and Perfect Stems company. Leah is a native York County resident and loves her involvement in the York community and loves the small business world she's a part of. Taking the entrepreneurial world by storm in 2021, Leah has opened 3 businesses in the last year, and there's a 4th on the way. So congrats, Leah. She also has jumped headfirst into York Young Professionals events as the events chair, and there's 2 major events happening at the tail end of 2022 that Leah has been a force behind. So thank you for joining us this morning, Leah. All right, next panelist is Meg Gibbon. I'm just going to go ahead and say that all of our panelists are very busy ladies and doing a lot in our community. Megan is the executive director of the White Rose Leadership Institute. Megan leads Give Local York County's Big Give Day, which has raised $15 million for hundreds of York County nonprofits over the last 5 years. Previously, Megan served as the Chief Marketing and Development Officer for Downtown Inc. Welcome back. And has been working to build the York community since her return to her hometown of York in 2010. Megan is the co-owner of the York County Pretzel Company and Architect Pizza, and serves on the board of York Day Nursery and the York County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thanks for joining us, Megan. And our final panelist is Allison Witherow, Chief Marketing Officer for One Hospitality Group. Allison was born and raised in York, and after a stint in New York City, she landed back in York as co-owner of Susquehanna Photographic. Photography got Allison involved in a variety of local events and group initiatives, which only grew her love for brand creation and marketing. Today, Allison directs the marketing efforts for One Hospitality Group and co-owns 2 local restaurants, the Cantina and Aviano's. And also, she is on the board of Downtown Inc. So thank you, ladies, for being with us this morning. We have tons of great questions. Just a reminder, if you, as the audience, have questions during our panel discussion, please drop them anytime through the Q&A or chat feature along the taskbar of your Zoom at the bottom, and at the end, we'll be sure to review those questions together. Alrighty, so let's get started with our questions that we have here, and then we will plant them to our panelists for review. So Allison, let's kick it off with you. First question here, can you recommend some first easy steps a small business can take to begin establishing their brand?
Yeah, so brand is a big word, obviously, and a brand is something that's going to, infiltrate every facet of your business, from what people see online to also what they experience when they come to your business. But I'll focus on kind of brand as it relates to marketing. So a great place to start for me is a logo and a brand standards guide. A logo and the brand components that go with it, things like colors, shapes, fonts, imagery, etc., are extremely important to nail down in the beginning, as it's going to set the tone for who you are as your business moving forward. So it's really important not to rush this step, and it will also be a great tool down the line should you hire a graphic designer or a web designer. It's going to give them kind of that Bible to make the right decisions even when you're not right there holding their hand. I also think creating several different logo renditions, multiple color versions, one color version, a reverse color version, etc., is only going to set you up for a breezier ride moving forward as you set up all of your other marketing assets. So if you don't have to stop every 2 seconds and like, oh, now I have to make something for my Facebook profile. Oh, shoot, now I have to make something for my website header. If you just kind of get all that out of the way at the start, it'll be really easy just to plug and play down the line.
Thanks, Allison. And do you recommend, like, could somebody do that by themselves as a business owner, or should they bring in like a consultant or a third party to assist them with that process?
I mean, we all have our strengths. So I guess it would be a matter of, if you are a tech savvy and design minded person, then maybe you can give it a go yourself. But if that's not your strong suit, I definitely recommend hiring a local designer to help you work through some of those kinks. Their minds think differently than the average person. So they might say, actually, that's not really going to be great if you're going to want to do uniforms, or like, think about how that would be in a sign. You might want to make this tweak or that tweak. So it's a good idea if you're not, that type of person. Maybe you're great at math, but like aren't really artistic. Maybe that's an instance where you would want to hire someone. And then I also recommend getting some kind of good digital storage solution, like Google Drive or something like that, where you can have all of your logos and branding materials and your brand standards guide and photos all in one spot. So it's really easy to access down the line and send to others.
Thank you. Meg, do you have, or Leah, do you have anything to add to what Allison noted?
So one thing I would suggest, when we think of brands, and Allison pointed out, we think of the visual stuff, right? The colors and the logos and all of those things. This is an area where I would recommend stealing from the nonprofit world and coming up with sort of your business mission statement or your story, right? So what story are you looking to tell with your business? What do you want to be? What do you hope people see or know about you? And if you do that from the start, you can use it almost as sort of a reflection piece or a vision piece for yourself. That's good to return to then, to make sure as you're making decisions moving forward and as your business hopefully grows, that you're checking in with that mission and that vision and making sure that the decisions you're making are aligning with that, and that you're continuing to tell that story that you were hoping to tell from the start. And of course, it can evolve and change as you grow as well.
Yeah. Leah, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Resonating with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing with brand is consistency. So if you're going off of your brand in any way, shape, or form, I think it can relate to being messy, and you're not keeping your brand the way that you had initially envisioned it. So what Allison said, by getting your Google Drive put together, getting your logos put in there, your branding guidelines, and sticking to it, sticking to the same fonts. If you're planning on doing collateral material, keeping with the fonts and the colors that you choose, because overall that's a consistent brand and it speaks to you and your business.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. We're already off to a very robust start. I'm loving it. All right. So moving on to the second question, Megan, this one is for you. We'll start with you. A lot of small businesses are run by one or only a few people. What are some digital marketing tools that they should immediately incorporate that are manageable for a small staff to maintain? We might have touched on some of this already and there's overlap, but keep
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share just a bit of background. For the first 4 years of Give Local, it was just me and volunteers, of course, on the day, but it was me behind the scenes. So I definitely understand being a small staff, or even all volunteer led at that point, even if you're not paying yourself. But a place that I would always recommend starting is looking at the data and the metrics of the platforms itself that you're using. So like your Google Analytics for your website, your Facebook Insights or your Instagram Insights. If you take a look at that information, you can pull a lot out of it in terms of who is engaging with your brand on social media. It'll tell you like what time of day your posts are most successful, what time you're seeing that engagement. You can pull a lot of information because sometimes, we want to go all out and just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And using the data allows you to be a lot more intentional about it and more efficient to use your time wisely. So I would recommend, digging in there to see what's already working and see how you can expand upon that. A lot of the platforms have also really increased and enhanced their business owner or their tools on the back end for the user in terms of being able to schedule posts in advance, or cross promote across platforms for, I guess it's Meta now, as both Facebook and Instagram. So there's a lot of things that you can do without having to utilize some third-party tools. But some of the third-party tools that I have utilized in the past, I have used Hootsuite. That is one. I've used that if I've had to bulk upload a lot of posts. You're able to do that, sort of using a spreadsheet. That's not necessarily best practice anymore, I would say. Give local, sometimes we have a lot of information that we have to push out. And for us, we don't have the luxury of saying what time is best to post this or when are we going to get the most engagement. If we have 300 nonprofits we have to spotlight in a month, we're just pushing that information out there. And I will tell people that is not best practice. I would really suggest taking a look at that data and seeing what is working as opposed to just throwing it all out there at once. I would also suggest really seeing where you're getting the most engagement, and that's something that you can also have conversations, whatever your business is, interacting with your customers in person or via a survey to figure out how did they find you, where are they seeing you most. So instead of feeling like you have to be on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and whatever the next thing is going to be, to really leaning into the area that is performing best for you and also the one that you're most comfortable with. That can also be based on who your audience is, what age group they are, or what age group you're trying to reach. So doing a little bit of digging into your audience and who your target audience is can also help you maximize your time and your efforts.
Definitely. Yeah, just a little bit. Well, not a little bit, because it is a heavy lift to figure all of that out, but very worth it. Allison or Leah, do you have anything to add to that?
I was going to add regarding the insights. So we're talking about digital marketing, but there's so many other different forms of marketing. And Megan had a good point where you're able to pull the analytics and data from the insights you're pulling from Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're getting it from. And if people start contacting you about certain forms of direct marketing, oh, you can get into my newsletter. Oh, you can get into so-and-so. I get so many calls every single week, but people trying to get me into certain things, and that's not going to hit my target market. So by you taking the insights that you're receiving from Facebook and Instagram, you can make the best judgment call as a business owner and decide, okay, this is definitely not worth my time or money, and I probably shouldn't drop a large amount of money on something it's not going to reach my target market.
Yeah. I think it can be very exciting to want to be marketed, when you receive those calls or those emails or inquiries, but make sure it fits your brand, fits who you're hitting before you jump on it. All right, Allison, next question for you. And where's a good place to start for a business that currently has no website, but does have a strong social media presence? And we can even expand that to be a moderately strong social media presence. And the second part is, do you recommend creating a website on your own? Should you hire a service to create and maintain for you? What would be some advice for that?
Yeah, so I would say some businesses, very few, are able to skirt by only having a social media presence. I always think a good example is a food truck. They have very little information to convey. They always have the same menu. They just are basically telling people where they are and when. But that's not most businesses. Most businesses benefit very much from having a website and some of the more robust, capabilities that a website provides. So one of those is to be able to gather more information about your audience, seeing where they're coming from, why they're coming to you, the path that they take once they arrive at your website. You can provide a really more in-depth experience for those people, especially if you need to do something more robust like sell products. So there's also some great tools if you're doing e-commerce for collecting additional email addresses, by offering coupons for people that opt into your newsletter, etc. There are several great website builders out there. Squarespace is one that I really like. that's very user friendly in that people can design their website on the front end, meaning that they don't necessarily need to know any coding or anything like that. And they're building it exactly as the user is seeing it. So therefore it's really intuitive because we all navigate websites. And because things like Squarespace are so widely used, it's really easy to Google if you're having an issue, because likely 500 other people have the same issue as you. That said, if you want to do something a little more customized, really specific to your business, or a really specific function of the website that you can't quite figure out with these templates, that could require a web designer that can do special coding. And if you're not inclined, again, that's another instance of like, know your strengths and just pay a professional to do your weaknesses, because it's going to be worth it in the end to have a website that really functions for you.
Yeah, I know I will always get suckered into signing up for an e-newsletter if there's a 10% off coupon. Always will do it, or a free appetizer. Megan or Leah, anything on that question?
I think ditto everything that Allison said. I think it's really important anymore to also think about why people are going to your website to get more information, right? So in the past, websites used to have like flash animations and all of this crazy stuff. And that's not the style anymore, but it's also not really what people want. So I always recommend keeping it simple. Think about the information that you are looking for when you are going to a website, whatever type of business you have. So if it's a restaurant, if it's a shop, if it's a service, what information would you be looking for, and try to make sure that that is present on the site. I also always recommend sort of testing that information or sending it out to your friends to say like, hey, what am I missing? Is there anything on here that's annoying to you, or something isn't where you would think it should be on a website? To get other eyes on it, and having that feedback is important, but I always recommend keeping it simple.
All right, Leah, next question is for you. So this one is talking about e-newsletters, which we just started to talk about. So how important are e-newsletters to your businesses? And would you recommend them? Are there certain types of businesses that you have that you stay away from e-newsletters, or you definitely need to use them? What are your thoughts overall on that?
I don't think it hurts. I know YYP has a newsletter we send out every single month. And we like to put focuses on the different committees that we have. So as the events chair, we do quite a bit when it comes to the events that are going on. As you said, we have two big events happening the rest of the year. And just making sure that at least it's getting in as many mailboxes as possible. So for the YYP standpoint, it's very, very important. Regarding my businesses, I definitely have been looking to do it for your perfect day, but Perfect Stems is something I want to do more with newsletters, only because as people are coming in or they're buying offline with their e-commerce website, we're taking that and retaining that information necessary to start a newsletter. So we'll be able to do arrangements of the month, merchant spotlight, that 10% discount in the newsletter that people can snip off or take it off their phone and come in and buy an arrangement. So that was the plan with Perfect Stems. Biggest thing with your perfect day is a majority of my clients, as soon as they are done working with us with their wedding or event, generally they don't want to receive wedding news, because maybe it's PTSD that comes from weddings when it's done. So with Perfect Stems, it didn't seem logical to do something like that, but with your perfect day, but Perfect Stems, we have plans to bring that out once we start getting clientele coming in through our website and storefront and collecting their data. But also just cleaning out with YYP, we do a clean out every couple of months, because if someone hasn't clicked on it, you can see that they haven't clicked on something and they're not active with the newsletter through our platforms that we use. So we clean out their email, especially if it's bouncing, and then that way it leaves room for new potential users coming in and new members. Definitely can speak for YYP and saying the success behind it and keeping people informed, and just making sure that we're keeping it updated and fresh every month.
Are there specific newsletter platforms that you use or recommend?
Yeah, we use Mailchimp. I used to use Mailchimp when I worked for Life Path Christian Ministries, and that was very nice because we could see how many soft or hard bounces we got every single month. And then we can start cleaning out the database as needed. You could also see how far people went into the newsletter. Did they just simply open the email, or did they click on any links inside the newsletter? Because that is really important data to know, okay, they clicked on this link, so they have interest in this, maybe I should focus more on this. So I know I personally like Mailchimp, and I think it works really well. I don't know if Megan or Allison, if you had used any in the last year or two that really work for you, because I think especially as I'm looking towards Perfect Stems having one, I'd love to hear what works best for you so I can implement that with that business.
Yeah, I also use Mailchimp for most of our stuff, but Klaviyo is another one that I've used for one of our businesses, just because it was passed on to us. And I think they're really great at template building. It's a little more robust than Mailchimp. But I would just add to everything you said. I think subject lines are super important. It's easier on us to send out, a monthly update, and, I'm totally guilty of that. But I feel like, just think of our own user experience when we get a gazillion emails a day. It's really easy to be like, oh, I do not have time for like a mile-long update email when I have everything else going on. But if the subject line is really specific, it kind of gives me a cue of what I want to ignore and what I don't. So just for us, even personally, I'm trying to move away from bulk updates and get a little bit more specific as far as like, here's a single announcement, here's a little tidbit, because in this world of 30-second videos and Insta stories and everything, I feel like our attention span is shrinking. So it's like, how do we play to that and just give people tidbits of information as it is relevant?
The next part of this question, and Megan, oh, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I will direct it at you. How often do you guys send out newsletters? So Meg, maybe you can talk on this as far as like the busy season versus off season. How do you navigate that?
Yeah. I mean, it is a balance, right? As Allison said, because people are getting messages thrown at them all day long. So it's, it is that balance. And I think, again, that goes back to taking a look at your data, right? And seeing like when people are engaging with you, what is being successful. You also use it to lead up to like special promotions or special weeks or events that you're having for your own business, and you want to make sure people know about it. From an e-commerce standpoint, when I'm talking about the pretzel company, we always attach, all of our emails that go out have a coupon code, and we're able to then track that to see, whether they're successful. And we're able to be at the point now where we can sort of tweak the market. So, if we're having a slower week or if we want to push a certain type of box, we can put out an email with a code for that box and immediately see the orders coming in for that. We work with a third-party marketing firm now for a lot of that, for the pretzel company specifically. I think that they use Klaviyo. So that is, I saw someone ask about the other app. For Give Local, ours is much more information-based. We're not looking to make a sale with that. We're looking to make sure people are having the info that they need. And so that's also, when that information needs to go out, that is when we're sharing that info. So it is a balance, and Mailchimp has really great, I'm going to keep going back to data and metrics, but you're able to go back and you can see when people are opening it, you can see when people are ignoring it or unsubscribing from you, and you're going to use that as your sort of guidepost moving forward. You also have the ability to A/B test, so you can try out different subject lines. So try one that has information about a discount in this subject line, but this one's just about, hey, it's fall, come get a new sweater, or what have you, and see what works. It's not an exact science, and it's going to be different based on who your audience is. So a lot of times there's no sort of like magic bullet that's going to get it all, and it's going to be different for each one, but you have the ability to sort of play around and test.
Yeah, theme of all of this, know your audience and take time to really look at what they're interested in and looking at. And I see chats coming in, and I see some Q&As coming in. So reminder, just to submit them anytime that you think of them during the panel discussion along the taskbar at the bottom, and then we'll be sure to address them at the end. All right, moving on, Leah, what are some methods that you have used to improve your SEO, which is the search engine optimization? And if you could give
Sorry.
just like a brief, what is the SEO for, just to refresh us or bring us all up to speed?
I think SEOs scare people, but they're an incredible tool, especially if you have a reachable website that has quite a bit of traffic coming in. I think it goes into Google Analytics and your ability to get on that first page of the Google search, because I think we're all trying to get there, because we know people don't go past page 2, if anything. So I think the biggest thing for my businesses is making sure my link is getting on other websites as well. Because as people are going to other websites and they see your link, they'll click on it. That's just an added bonus to come in. Next would be high quality content with your businesses that speak to your industry and your audience and the people you're trying to reach, the people that are ultimately going to make the sale for you. Next would be keywords. So with Your Perfect Day, when I got started with that, I made sure that the first 3, planning, floral design, decor rentals, literally put keywords into the title of my business. Because every time someone searches planning, especially in the general region, if they're searching here in York, PA, they're going to find Your Perfect Day because I built the keyword into it. That being said about keywords, don't over swamp your website with your keywords. You want to be very selective with it. Because ultimately you want to get them to go to your weddings link, your events page, because they're searching up that keyword. Next would be social media, and just making sure that your keywords are blocked into your social accounts as well, whether that's through hashtags, whether that's through the overall blocked content in your posts. And ultimately making sure it's a high quality content. I see so many people ultimately adding things that are not even relevant to your audience base. And then ultimately that's not going to make a sale. It's not going to help your business in any way. So try to sway away from doing that sort of thing. I think the biggest thing with SEOs is just making sure that you're able to track those keywords and making sure, okay, if this keyword is working, I should be sure to focus on that in my industry. If there's a keyword that is not really industry based, people aren't going to look for that keyword for your industry. So that's not going to help people get to your website. Back on social media, if you're using, and I hope you're utilizing Facebook and Instagram because they are a free form of digital marketing. Instagram, for example, you shouldn't be having any more than say 10 hashtags on your post, if anything. Hashtags are important, but you could overcrowd your content by having any more than that. So just be very selective with the keywords you're using with your hashtags, and that should help in growing the momentum for your posts. Yeah, I don't know if Allison, I know you both use SEOs with your websites and your branding and content. I didn't know if you had anything to add to that.
I don't know if anyone out there is using WordPress already for their websites, probably most people. There's a good plugin called Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T SEO, that kind of does like an SEO analysis of each of your pages, and it'll like rank you on different elements of SEO. So if you're kind of like don't know where to start, that might be a good place to do like a little survey of your website and give you some pointers there. And then of course there's a paid version and all of that. But I thought it was pretty helpful. Coming from a Squarespace world where a lot of that's built in already, and then recently acquiring a WordPress site is kind of like helped me say, okay, how can I best perfect each page of my site for optimal SEO?
Google also has those tools as well. So you can even sort of put in your URL and Google will tell you, what is coming up. So you can use that as a check to say like, is this, what I want to be coming up? Is this what I want Google to be seeing or other search engines? This is also a good area to look at your competition, and just sort of, or the folks that you are aspiring to be, or the websites that you really like, to see how they are doing it and what sort of words are appearing on their site. And again, it's that sort of that research, that data, so that you can improve what you're doing and then continue to check to maximize it and make it most efficient and working for you.
All right, thanks, ladies. All right, Allison, this question will start with you. Do you utilize paid digital marketing tools like social media boosting, sponsored content on socials, or any Google ads?
Yes, we utilize all of those for all of our brands. Social media boosting is a great, easy way to put a few marketing dollars behind important posts. I don't recommend putting it behind every single post that you do. I would keep it to key development or key brand messages, especially since it's probably going to go to people that haven't seen you before. You really want to drive the important stuff home. But I do recommend diving a little further, and rather than just boosting an existing post, logging into the back end of your Meta Business Center and running some ads. They can also do A/B tests, which Megan mentioned earlier, and you can get really specific about your audience and learning who your most responsive customers are. And then with that information, like Megan said, data is key. So with that information, you can either decide to play into your most responsive customer or put a little extra money into people that you might not be reaching, but you're trying to reach more for whatever reason based on your business. Google ads can also be effective. For those, I would just warn against what you're putting money behind. So just using Aviano's, for example. So it's an Italian restaurant downtown. I'm not going to put money behind Aviano's York, PA, because those people will find us anyway through the natural magic of Google. But I might put money behind Italian restaurants near me, or Italian restaurants York, PA, or even I could get really nitty gritty and say Olive Garden near me and try to like grab some of those competitor customers. So think about ways that someone might not naturally come to you, just from basic Google results, that you can kind of like point them in the right direction. And then as far as some free options, obviously social media posts are free and a great free option, but they won't always be seen by as many people as you hope. So the way that Facebook's algorithms work are that the app will favor content that's been shared or liked or saved. So that's why you see all of these like and share campaigns, because it's a great way to drive natural organic reach to something without putting actual dollars behind it. So that's where we get the term viral, as something is shared, which is shared more, which is shared more, which is shared more, kind of like an STD. So that's a great free option. And then doing those kinds of campaigns with other businesses as well can help you share each other's audiences.
All right, well, I'll never forget that now, Allison. So thank you for that. Megan, do you want to add to that?
Yeah. So, both Facebook and Google have created sort of like universities now with training on how to use their advertising platforms. So that's and it's free. So that's a good way if this is an area that you're looking to get into more, to learn, specifically how to do that on those platforms. You can also create, if you get into the nitty gritty, you can create lookalike audiences. So you can tell them, like I would like to steal Olive Garden's audience. Can you create sort of this lookalike audience of people who are already engaging with Olive Garden? You can also, going back to earlier, we're talking about sort of email newsletters. You can plug in your already the contact list or the customer list that you already have and create an audience off of people who look like that audience. So there's really sort of in-depth stuff that you can be doing. It just takes the time to learn about it. And both of those options, Google and Facebook, have really robust sort of learning tools to help you do that. And I know we're talking about free stuff. So we have a few nonprofits on the call today. Google has a nonprofits program, and once you sign up and are verified, you get an allotment of dollars towards Google ads every month. So that's a free option for nonprofit organizations to get into some Google advertising.
All right, thanks so much for noting that, Megan. It's so important. Next question is for you, Leah. Have you ever participated in co-marketing with other local businesses or organizations? And what types of co-marketing did you use? What was helpful, wasn't helpful, all that good stuff.
So as I was reading this and prepping for this webinar. It brought back an event that we did earlier in the summer. It was a part of one of the businesses that I own. It's called Picnics with a Twist, and we do luxury picnics here in the area. And it's a collab project with other women small business owners. And we wanted to do a picnic event to try to see if it would work. And see how much reach we could have with that. And we created the event, went through Eventbrite for the ticketing service, and then we all started sharing it like crazy. And I think by the end of the event, we had 1,000+ people interested in it, and we only had 120 tickets. And I'm still getting calls from people. How did you do that? We have events that are not reaching people. How did you do it? And I think I forget, it was either Allison or Megan who said it earlier. It's just shareability. At YYP, we try to get as many, specifically the board members, to share as much as we possibly can, because a single share can reach however many people on their service and their platform. So if you're not sharing the event, ultimately, I think it's just invisible. So with that particular event, we were sharing, the three of us, actually it was more, probably 5 total, because we had other vendors involved. Everybody was sharing it like crazy. And we sold tickets out within a month prior to the event, and that usually does not happen. So I truly think with the marketability is just, as long as you're collabing with somebody, everybody has to have their fair share in the sharing of the event, and word of mouth and conversations, and doing it as much as you possibly can to try to get as many people interested in it. And we're still getting people contacting us saying, when are you doing the next one? When are you doing the next one? So we not only shared it like crazy, but created a positive light around the event, and people wanted to participate in another one. So I think collabing, I have to say collabing has been a big success for those style of events. Because ultimately they have their own platform that they have built, and people who follow them, and so do we. And by sharing it on both of them, we're reaching double the content, double the people with the event.
Excellent. Thanks, Leah. All right, we have just a few more questions for our panelists, and then we'll jump into the Q&A from our audience. So Megan, this question is directed towards you. So what are some opportunities for small businesses to practice good customer service on social media? This is my favorite one.
Yeah, so, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all of that is really an extension of your customer service team and the experience that people have with your business in person. So, all of those sort of same practices that you would do in person should apply, right? So if someone has a question, you're going to answer that question. If someone makes a comment, I mean, even if it's just like, I love this, going back in and saying like, wow, thanks, or like, can't wait to see you in here. This is a way for you, if you pretend that was a real person in your shop, or, coming into your office, how would you engage with them? So, you want to use that as an extension of your customer service. And Facebook was created especially to sort of be a conversation, right? It was a way for you to ask questions and to have responses and to further a conversation. So if you think of it in that way, this is an opportunity for you to have those conversations virtually with people. It can be a lot, right, to be able to monitor all of your social media platforms. And that's, again, why I would recommend, not doing the spaghetti on the wall strategy, but really focusing on the ones that are working for you and the ones that you can commit to setting your time to engage with. All of the platforms have different notifications that you can set for yourself, whether that's in the app, or if you want to receive an email every time you get a comment or a question. That's going to be on you to know what sort of prodding you need to go back in there and engage. But nothing looks worse, I would say, than if someone is trying to engage with you on your social media, asking a question, putting something out there that does require that follow-up, and you just letting it die, or coming back 6 years later like, oh, Julie, I just saw this now. So you want to think of it as an extension of as if that person was in front of you or popping in your shop to ask a question, and be mindful about responding and being present with them on your social media.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Allison, do you have any tips or tricks for responding to visitors or people engaging on socials, even if it's maybe sometimes not super favorable?
Yeah, I mean, people can be really mean on the internet. Something about the, anonymous quality of not actually talking to someone face to face can get people a little crazy sometimes. So I would just say, try not to take it personally. If somebody says something really nasty, maybe there's even no truth to what they're saying. Just, like water off of a duck's back, just let it roll off and move on. And something I used to be really afraid to do was just hide a comment. I, back in the day, felt like I had to respond to every single thing so we could be as, transparent as possible. And I think there is some validity to publicly replying and commenting to certain things. But other things, if somebody's just clearly there to like give you a bad day, just hit that little hide button. Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your business looking the best that it can be. And if somebody's, not really coming with a valid concern, then you don't need to give it a second thought.
Yeah, very true. All right, our last question, Megan, will direct the first part of this question to you. What advice would you give a business owner that has received a negative Google or Facebook review? So specifically review, not necessarily like a comment. How would you handle that?
Yeah, so what I usually try to do and recommend doing is, again, if this is a valid sort of customer complaint or review, sometimes you will get people in there who, are just having a bad day and want to make everyone else have a bad day. But as much as you can, if you can look into that situation so that you have some knowledge, to look up, maybe what happened talking to your staff, or if there was an order missed or what have you, try to, take a pause, gather some information on your end so you can have an informed response to that person. I recommend, depending on the situation, you're realizing that this is not just about that reviewer, but other people are going to see that review and your response to it. So that's what you want to keep in mind. So your response to that, depending on what the situation is, being apologetic, being transparent, I would always, address that situation and then give them a method to contact you offline. So to have a further conversation, whether that's your email or your phone or what have you. Because that's sending the message to everyone else who's seeing that interaction that, you do take these complaints seriously, and then you're putting the ball in the other person's court to follow up with you if it is something that, that really does warrant it. Again, it's going to depend on what the situation is and what the review is saying. Something along the lines of like, I'm sorry, that was your experience. That's obviously not what we hope for our customers to have here. Please follow up with me, or, I would love to, your next meal's on me, or, follow up with me and we can take this further, whatever the situation calls for. But I recommend, getting all the information you can and being informed, responding in whatever manner is appropriate, and then giving them an outlet to contact you offline so that you don't get into a tit for tat in that public forum.
Very good. Thanks, Megan. Allison or Leah, for our last question there, do you have anything to add?
I definitely do. We recently had a review that should not have been done. It was done by somebody who, I guess, in a malicious way, we had no affiliation with them. They just wanted to negatively review us. And just like Megan said, because it's such a public forum, you have to be as professional as possible. I go back to whenever I look at a business to see if I want to give them my business, I go to their reviews. I go to see how they react to their comments from their customers. And if they're not being professional, generally, I will not give them my business because they don't know how to handle that type of negative content. What we will be implementing in the next couple of months is especially with brides, like they are very nitpicky when it comes to their weddings and events, and rightfully so. It is their special day. But what I would like to do is sending out an immediate survey after the wedding is over, because then that way they can get their opinion out without necessarily feeling, oh, I'm going to take time out of my day to go directly to a public forum and post about it. By sending them a survey, you're giving them an outlet to voice their opinion, and they know that that survey is going directly to the owner of the business to be able to see some sort of change if change is at all necessary. So that's what we've been implementing to try to deflect any sort of people trying to say, oh, I'm just going to go to their page and review it. That's no one wants that. Nobody wants someone going to their page and negatively reviewing. So I would highly suggest a survey, because not only do you get more in-depth content about why they're feeling the way that they are, rather than just a couple short sentences with a 1-star review. But then you're able to get their personal information and reach out to them right away, rather than some hidden name on the Google. Or so I would definitely suggest doing a survey if necessary.
Yeah, I think it's all about getting the opportunity to fix it before it gets to that point. So even before they write a review, if we're in the restaurant industry, so all people love to give bad reviews. It's like, Yelp. But it's like, if our manager can tell that someone's having a bad time, even then, having the opportunity to fix it before it gets to the review point. Or if you've missed that one, then yes, giving them an opportunity to tell you directly. If you've missed that, then, we've actually had times where somebody's left that 1-star review, and then we can reach out to them, and we've had people delete it or change it to a 5 just based on how we responded and reached out and showed that we care. And that's feels like a total win. Is like, yeah, we got them to think about us differently, and now they don't hate our guts. Now they will be back, and maybe they'll leave a 5-star next time.
Excellent. All right, we have tons of Q&A and questions in the chat here, so let's start chipping away at those. There's 2 here about hashtags, so let's start with that. How do you choose hashtags for your posts? And are there any that you would recommend, even if they're not relevant to your content?
Since I mentioned that earlier with hashtags, what I have done in the past is I search weddings or planners in, say, Instagram, and see posts come up, and some really, really successful posts, a couple thousand people liking their content and I don't like repeating the wheel. If it's been done and it's successful, why not do it? So if you go into their posts and you see their hashtags and it's your industry and they're literally the exact same style of professional as you are, if they have hashtag wedding, hashtag planner, hashtag event, please use it, because obviously it's working in their advantage.
Yeah, I think this also is an area, hashtags, especially on Instagram, sort of have become their own community. So people can, filter their timeline so that they're also following that hashtag. So, you personally, or you professionally, if there are communities that you're a part of or hashtags that you are following, right, and people that you are networking with, that's also where you want your business to be. So, thinking about it in that sense. Hashtags on Facebook, I think, are a little bit more difficult. You can search by them, but it's kind of clunky with the algorithm. I think those are more, hashtags are more effective on Twitter, on Instagram, where there's that sort of visual component or that conversational piece around it, and thinking of it as a community.
And then back to our customer service questions. So this one's specifically about emailing, but I know that this can also pertain to Facebook or Instagram messages. Is there some form of automated message, or is there a form of automated messaging important, or should you or your team message back as soon as possible in a more personal manner?
Facebook does have the option to do an automated response. I feel like just as a customer, it's almost more frustrating to get something pre-written. It's like, okay, I know that's not you. You obviously didn't answer my question. It's obviously a robot talking back to me. And I feel like I don't really like them. I feel like it kind of removes a personal element and doesn't answer the person's question and makes them feel like, oh, we're just putting you off for now, and I'm probably not going to get a response anytime soon. So I recommend just waiting until you have the time to answer said question. But of course, within reason, don't let it go for days on end.
I would just say the only time that from a Give Local perspective, where we have used that auto messaging is on Give Day itself, when things are crazy and we want to redirect them to somewhere else, right? So maybe you're having an inventory day, or maybe it's a crazy day and you're not going to be able to get with them, but if they text you or call you, So if you're using it as an information sort of thing, or a way to buy time, or considering it like your out of office message. But I don't think the ones that, are just like, hey, welcome to my page or whatever, that just ends up, that's a pain in my ass, and it just clogged up my inbox. And I was excited I got a notification, but it was an auto message, and it, it deters you from wanting to engage further.
I also feel like with those, just from like not the user, but the person receiving the messages, then those messages are marked unread. So I can't see who I need to answer. So that's also frustrating, noting to go in and remove those automatic messages. What would be, I'm sorry, where do SEO keywords go?
Anywhere and everywhere on your website.
So is this just like, I think the person's just asking, like, is there a specific place you have to enter them in, or is it just the SEO pools from your website as a whole?
Yeah, so SEO, search engine optimization, and when we're talking about keywords, those are the words that Google or a search engine is pulling out as important when it is reading your website. So it's not that you're just going to go in and list out all your keywords on your website, but in the copy on your website, that you want those words to appear. So for Leah, it's, you want to plan your perfect wedding day, and are you looking for, a local wedding planner? Those keywords that you want people to associate with you should be appearing in your copy on your website. Back when I first started doing web stuff in like the early 2000s, 2010s, there were all sorts of tricks. Like you would put keywords in, like if you had a white background of your website, you'd put keywords in like white font to try to trick Google. And it was all of this like crazy stuff. The system has gotten smarter than that now. And it's not a matter of, writing it for a robot or like a robot. But if you are promoting yourself and telling your story in the way that you want to, those keywords should flow naturally right in the copy, because you're just talking about who you are and what you do. And Google will be picking up on that.
Going back on the link side that we had talked about, most of the links that I have on other pages are just the home page. So I usually put as many of my keywords as I possibly can on my home page, because as people are linking into it or searching it, people are primarily going to go to the homepage anyways. So you want to try to get your SEOs into your title, into your headers, into anywhere on your homepage without making it over cluttered, because that's going to make the search engine literally optimized for your homepage. And that's at least going to get your foot in the door for someone's day to look into your website and go further into it.
So this question, we can go a couple different directions with it, but let's say digital marketing seems overwhelming, especially when I'm responsible for running my business day to day. What is one marketing tool I should focus on right now? And also let's extend it to what's one marketing tool I should focus on, but also from the webinar, what is one takeaway? If you heard anything, what would it be? Besides the STD and water off a duck's back, which personally, Allison, were my favorites. So thank you.
I think one thing that we've all said in one form or the other is know your audience. So use your data, figure out who your audience is, and then your one thing is what they're most responsive to. So if you're, if your audience is the young kids these days, then maybe you pour your little limited energy that you have into TikTok. But if your audience is some old fogies and they like to read, email newsletters or like see things in the newspaper, then maybe that's where you put your small limited energy. So just know your audience and speak to them with the time that you have.
I wanted to say through Facebook, for example, if you wanted to boost a post, if you know that your audience is 21 to 45, there's a way of boosting your post to just primarily do women 21 to the age of 45. So then that way, when the post is boosted, it can reach new customers in that age range. Because I see people unfortunately doing it for everybody, but not everyone's your audience.
Yeah, very true. And Megan, for you, takeaway or where to start and where to start?
Yeah, I mean, ditto to all of these things. I would say, currently and locally, Facebook is probably still the place for York. And again, it's going to depend on your age group, but it's a pretty large age range. So that is, it's an easier area, I think, to start in. Odds are you maybe are already on Facebook personally, and your business is probably on Facebook. So that, might be a way to start to focus your energy, to learn a bit more, to check out your insights. And I would say, you can start small, and it's a pretty forgiving space. So again, you can test some things out, and you can play with it a little bit. And you don't have to feel like you have to, do all the things all the time, all the places. Start with your insights, try to get a little bit more information about your audience and the time of day that they are engaging with you most, and use that as a starting point to build up upon.
Thank you, guys. All right. I feel like we're all ready to conquer the digital marketing world. You guys are great. This was a wonderful discussion, and we appreciate your time and your expertise so much. So before we wrap, we have some Downtown Inc. specific updates for you guys, and then we will close out, and you guys can all go start your morning with all this wonderful knowledge. So first, some upcoming events. The Downtown Update is coming up on October 5th at the Appel Center from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Doors open at 7:30. There will be some breakfast, which is always exciting. We have another great panel discussion about the economic state of Main Street communities such as downtown York. We will be hearing from Julie Fitzpatrick, the executive director of the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, and hearing a downtown York economic forecast by John Damaris, director of Downtown Inc. And we also have a really robust panel discussion featuring downtown York small business owners. You can go to our website, which just dropped in the chat for more information. And I mean, the panelists, the breakfast, all that's great, but the tickets are free. So really, we invite all of you to come out. It's going to be a great morning. And then the Fall Sweetest Pint is coming up at the end of October, on October 29th. If you haven't done the Sweetest Pint bar crawl, I would encourage you to do so. It's a day full of fun from 1:30 until about 5-ish. Whenever you're done stumbling around downtown, you'll be hitting different tour stops around downtown, different businesses, different bars. It's a guided tour. So again, the link to that on our website, and tickets are available there. Go green in the city. It's not too early to start thinking about 2023. I know, no pressure, right? That is on April 23rd from 10 to 3. And we're currently looking for earth conscious vendors, nonprofits, kids activities, local makers, food trucks. So if you are or know one, please send them our way. And there's a discounted rate to becoming a vendor if you signed up by the end of this year. If you are a downtown business owner and want to stay informed with what's going on with Downtown Inc., please sign up for our merchant newsletter. And also we have a merchant Facebook group, which is for business owners in our downtown. This is a private group specific to Downtown Inc. announcements, but lots of good stuff going on there as well. An easy way to stay engaged. So we appreciate all of our attendees. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have another upcoming Bloom Business Series workshop on October 19th, 8:30 a.m. via Zoom, and we're going to be learning about how to get government certifications, which ones you need, how to apply, all of that good stuff. All right, everyone, have a great day, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.